What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a special presentation by DodgerBlue.com. I'm here with my good buddy Blake Williams. My name is Scott Geirman. Special assignment, Scott Geirman. Blake, how we doing, man? It's good to see you.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing well, man. It's good to be on here with you. This is a project that I know we talked about, and I would say a couple weeks prior, up to a month or two heading into the season. I'm really excited to get to talk about this. A special interview with Dodgers reliever Anthony Banda. Blake, before we really dive into it, I want to give you the platform on this. How did a sit down interview like this come about with Banda? Because he is a name that to baseball fans, around Major League Baseball, not a high, name on the top of their mind. But to Dodger fans, we've seen him join the organization and this past year and really become a key piece to this bullpen. How did this come about? Just the floor is yours, buddy.
Yeah, so for anyone who knows Anthony, he's a very friendly person, very open with everyone. So he's someone I've developed a pretty good relationship with. And it was around Thanksgiving where I first asked him, hey, would you want to come on our podcast? And he seemed really excited about it. So it took a while to actually get the time set up and everything. We were traveling a lot and the fires happened and just a ton going on. So took a bit, but we were finally able to work out a time. We talked about it probably 6 or 7 different times, when we can try and find time to do it. And then we originally set after the Japan trip, but then coming back from that, we were both exhausted. It was such a whirlwind at that time. So we finally got the time off on one of the off days here, and it worked out. He invited me to his hotel, so I was able to come and interview him in person instead of doing it virtually. So that was really great. But yeah, it's been a long time coming, finally able to get it together, and I was really happy about that.
So Banda, aside from the fact that he's been, I believe it's on 8 organizations in his big league career here, he is someone who is not used to staying in one place for quite a bit of time. I think his longest span was with Tampa Bay years ago. So now that he joins the Dodgers, Blake, and you had a chance to sit down with him after winning the World Series with the Dodgers and learning a lot about him, developing this special relationship, what's something in this interview that people can really take away? And Blake, I really want to know what was your favorite part about it, and something that stuck out to you, maybe something you were surprised by even.
So my favorite part was, it was pretty early in the interview. He was talking about the first time he was drafted, and baseball wasn't even on his mind at that time, that he could play professionally. He loved the sport, he loved playing it, but professional really caught him off guard. So I'll save that anecdote a bit for the interview so everyone enjoys watching it in real time from his mouth. But I think that was a really funny experience there. Also learning he's just a nerd off the field, big into Pokemon and anime, stuff like that. So he gave a little breakdown of Destiny 2 or Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 a bit for anyone who plays that. So yeah, just a really fun interview all around. I really tried to go into his life more and his career, his path to the major leagues and his journey in it, because like you said, he's been with a lot of organizations and teams. So it hasn't been very straightforward. He was traded a few times. He was designated for assignment a few times. So I tried to get the emotional aspect of that, because from a fan standpoint, we don't really think of all that behind the scenes stuff that goes on. So I wanted to hear from him because he is someone who's dealt with it a lot. So I really tried to get all that kind of behind the scenes stuff you don't hear about as much and focus on his life and journey.
That's fantastic, man. I mean, everybody sit back, relax, enjoy yourself. Blake Williams worked very hard on this interview, and Anthony Banda incredibly gracious with his time. So we hope you enjoy it. Sit back. We'll see you.
So I want to start out with, when you first, going back to the start of your, journey, when did you start playing baseball and know, that's what you wanted to do?
I started playing baseball just from the sense of playing with my friends and, as a little kid, you're playing t-ball, coach pitch and all that. You make friends, you understand that sports kind of brings that environment, to you, instead of just trying to go out there and play at the park or something, and try to make friends. So that was kind of how I did it. And a bunch of my friends that I've already had, met through school and all that other good stuff were playing ball. So it was something just to get into. I had no idea about it in the sense of that, just it was my first time ever playing. But as I progressed through, it was something where I started to really enjoy, from hitting the ball, fielding the ball, understanding the games, understanding the rule, and then just I think the first real enjoyment was catching fly balls, really. So that was pretty cool. But yeah.
So was baseball playing professionally? Was it a goal for you, or did that come later down?
Yeah, that came late. That came way later. Going through high school and all that, we have a legendary coach in our eyes, and in the town, in the Coastal Bend area, was Gene Casper. He was somebody that I always looked up to. I always admire in the sense of he demanded the consistency of a player, the routines of catching the fly balls correctly with two hands, and the fundamentals is what he demanded. And it was really, really cool to see because a lot of people in higher grades than me were in the sense of the huge amount of respect that they given him. So if you had his respect, you were like the guy that everybody wanted to be around, that everybody wanted to talk to, everybody wanted to learn from and stuff. And in my eyes, I just wanted to be the best I could possibly be and learn the most that I could possibly learn from him. So that was my ultimate goal, really, was just to play varsity baseball, as a freshman, sophomore, going through high school, and just learning as much as I could, being as consistent as I could. And that was truly the ultimate goal. I had no knowledge of professional baseball. I had no knowledge of that. You could get drafted out of high school or anything else like that. I mean, I come from a very small town, and my everyday life was, we had property where we had livestock, and we fed the livestock. We kept up the livestock, and the horses, the cows, and all this other good stuff. So my life wasn't all about baseball. It was a lot of different random things, but I enjoyed it. And it didn't really hit me professionally until, believe it or not, one day I was playing summer ball. I'd just gotten back home from a Houston trip, and I get a phone call. I just woke. This phone call is waking me up from a midday nap, and it was my coach, which I didn't know he was an area scout. The name of J.R. Salinas, and he calls me. He says, "Congratulations, you've been drafted." And I go, "What are you talking about?" I was so confused, and I was misunderstanding what he was trying to tell me. And the first thing I thought of was the military draft. I was like, "There's still a military draft. There's a thing like that. What?" He goes, "No, the major league draft. We drafted you." And I was like, and it still didn't hit me. I was obviously just waking up, and I was so confused about what he was trying to tell me. And then he was like, "Hey, congratulations. Call your parents. Tell them, that you got selected in the major league draft, and we'll talk later." And I was like, "Okay." Told my father, told my mother, and they were excited. They couldn't believe it. I didn't believe it. So it was something odd as far as getting introduced to that type of deal. But I mean, again, it wasn't my ultimate goal. I was just trying to figure out, just like most people, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life. And baseball kind of just fell into that.
So that when you were drafted, that was back in 2011 by the Diamondbacks in the 33rd round.
Yes.
You chose not to sign, and you went to community college.
Yeah. So the way it all happened was, it was back then they had what they call a draft and follow. So they draft you, and then they follow you throughout the summer. And based off basically what they see, the tools they see, as you play throughout the summer, will dictate whether, they want to offer you, whether they tell you, hey, maybe you go to college to develop a little bit more. In my case, my scout was like, hey, like they're offering, but I think it's such a lowball deal that I think you should just go to college and enjoy that. And my mind was already set. Like I was going to be the first one to go to college. And at that time I had gotten a full ride to San Jack out of Houston, and it was something where I was like, you know what, like I want to go enjoy it. I want to go enjoy and experience college life, and I want to go and see what's that about. And being the first time by myself, like on my own, like I wanted to see how I would handle it. And so I decided to go there, which was a great decision because I had a ton of fun. I met a lot of great people, made a lot of good friends, and so yeah, I'm really glad that I went through the community college.
And then the next year, you were drafted again by the Brewers this time, so 2012. Did that hit a little differently? Like now you realized it wasn't the military draft, it was the MLB
Yeah. So throughout that college year, back then they would send us in the mail like questionnaires, or they would send us in emails questionnaires about to fill out from different teams. And I remember getting a good handful of them, and then filling them out and just realizing like, man, this can really happen. But I didn't really put too much focus on it. It was more like just the everyday enjoying college, enjoying it with my friends, enjoying the nightlife, experiencing life on my own. And that was the most focus I had on that, really. And then, obviously you got to take care of your schoolwork to be able to be eligible to play ball. So I took everything very like seriously in the sense of just trying to get by, in the sense of passing, and so that way I could be eligible for the spring. And then obviously, practicing and, staying on top of baseball too. So, it was all funny when I look back at it and like how it all worked out. But I mean, it was pretty cool. I thought it's pretty unique, I think. But everybody has a different story. Everybody has a cool story. But yeah, that's kind of how I went through it.
So what do you remember about playing with the Brewers after signing with them, first time professional baseball?
I remember first time going to Arizona and experiencing the summer. That was hot. That was brutal. I didn't think a place could get so hot. But I remember watching Zach Greinke came over on the minor league side, and Charlie Greeny he's still there actually. Great dude. I really, really admire that guy. He's great. Zach was throwing a bullpen, and I remember they had pulled us to the side and they made, not made us watch, but they were like, hey, if you guys want to watch a major league pitcher throw a bullpen, this is what it looks like. And back then they had strings to mimic the bottom of the zone, right? And so I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and I mean, Zach's not missing a spot. And as we all know, Zach's command is very good. It's very elite. So it was something where I was like, I mimicked him. I whispered to myself, I was like, man, I'm never gonna make it if it's like that. Like, because it was just so awing where, he would signal fastball down and away, he'd hit it. He would hit it like 9 out of 10 times. And it was just like, oh goodness, like there's no way I can do this. There's no way. And so that was my first like real professional introduction of how to be a pro and how to go about it with your work. And I remember it was very impressive, where I was just like blown away, where I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way. There's no way.
Well, there was a way, but
Yeah.
So you started to get comfortable in the Brewer system, I assume, and then like 2 years later, you were traded to the Diamondbacks, and that was a pretty significant trade for those teams with Mitch Haniger involved.
Yeah.
And I assume that was pretty jarring, like you're getting comfortable as a young player, and then you have to go change organizations, you're in a completely new place, and how was that experience like?
It was I guess you could say it was exciting for me. I know I was excited because the way it was explained to me was like the Brewers didn't want to let me go, but then to make the trade happen, Diamondbacks wanted me, and so it was a bittersweet moment where it was like bitter because I was leaving an organization I was getting comfortable with, but it was also sweet because like I'm not saying the Brewers didn't want me, but had understanding that there was other teams out there that wanted me and had interest in me. That was the first time experiencing it, so it was exciting. I was excited about it, and like when I got there, I was in Wisconsin. I was in Lowey when it happened in Appleton, Wisconsin, and I ended up getting my stuff packed. I was with the host family, and I got my stuff packed and drove to South Bend, Indiana, which was Lowey for the Diamondbacks at the time. And when I got there, it was fun. It was fun. It was a lot more personality. Not saying that the team that I was on before didn't have it, but it was just a lot new faces, getting to know people. It was exciting. It was an exciting experience for me, and I thrived in it. I got comfortable really, really quick. And from then on, it was fun. It really was.
So by 2017, you were ranked as the Diamondbacks' top prospect by MLB Pipeline. You ended up making your MLB debut that season. What do you remember about making your debut in that first game?
I remember that my body was shaking. I remember my legs were shaking. I felt like I was almost floating. It was a feeling that I never really felt before. Now I feel it every day in the sense of like when I go out and perform, and compete. But I didn't. It was something where it was very special for me because everybody that's helped me along the way. I wouldn't say everybody, but like most of the people that helped me along the way were there. I wish everybody would have been there, but it was a good time. It was quite an experience. I still remember throwing the first pitch, and I'm like, I didn't even feel it. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like it was almost like a blackout moment. But yeah, like it was fun. It was a lot of good things, and I'll never forget it. It was an experience that I'll never forget. It was very special to me, and I just there's no other way to explain it other than special. It was intimidating, obviously, but to go out there and push myself through it and just to pitch in a major league ballpark in Arizona against probably the hottest hitting team at the time, and to do well, it was a good time.
Yeah, so for anyone watching who doesn't know, you were a starter back then.
Yeah.
And the first batter you faced, do you remember who it was and the result?
Goodwin. I struck him out with a changeup.
Yeah, and then I think 2 batters later.
Harper took me deep.
Yeah, so future Hall of Famer, not a terrible outcome there for.
When he hit it, I was like, oh God. There wasn't a ball that was hit off of me that hard and that far. Like he absolutely annihilated that ball. If the windows were open, I think it's leaving the ballpark.
Yeah, the crazy thing to me was I was looking up his stats that year, and he was 24, and it was his 5th year in Major League Baseball. That's just kind of mind-blowing. But
yeah, special guy.
So then the next year, you're traded again to the Rays, and it seemed like that kind of started a run of things that went wrong. You underwent Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
You spent 2019 rehabbing pretty much and came back in September. And then 2020 was the COVID year. So how was that whole timeline there? Just that 3 years, like a whirlwind kind of thing?
Man, getting traded, I absolutely loved Arizona, and I didn't want to leave. But I understand it's a business. They got needs. They need a fill, and it all happened with JD Martinez leaving in free agency. So they had a void they needed to fill. They needed somebody, and it just happened to be with the Rays, Souza, and so they needed to make it happen. And so I understood it. I understood why. When I got to the Rays, it was very inviting, and they were very good at exploiting what I was good at. And that was when it started, like, as far as understanding myself as a pitcher, understanding myself what I do well and what I don't do well. And I'm grateful for the knowledge they've given me, the experience they gave me, and the coaching that Kyle Snyder gave, and the guys around me showing me in the sense of like what I do well, what I don't do well, and it was a good experience. And it's not, I don't point the finger at anybody in the sense of like why or how I blew out. No, like, it happens. Injuries happen. It was just one of those things where it just happened, and I didn't think I didn't feel any pop or anything at the time. I was in Durham, I believe, and I didn't feel anything. I continued to pitch on it, but my velocity was down and everything else like that. But the next day is like when it really hurt, in the sense of trying to throw a baseball. I couldn't throw a baseball, and so we got imaging, and sure enough, it was torn. Then Tommy John happened, and then I think right when I got hurt, that's when the whirlwind of me going down the rabbit hole, per se, happened. Trying to come back from Tommy John is tough. I think what makes it more tough or tougher would be like not knowing what made you good, in the sense of like mechanics, like how to move, like what was it that made you throw hard? It wasn't. It's all about the movement, like mechanics. I wasn't very in tune or very educated on my mechanics. They tried to stay away from that with me. They just allowed me to be athletic and stuff like that. And that was what got me in trouble a lot, really. I was always tweaking with things. I was always messing with things. I became robotic, really. I was watching videos from YouTube, drive line, tread, and trying to figure it out, and trying to understand and get a good feeling of what it was that made me good or made me move well. And it just took me a long time to realize, like, if you just stay athletic, you're gonna do it. Like, but I was so hard-headed and so just wanting to like really just hone it in and get it right out the gate. And I didn't understand, because this was my first injury ever, like major injury ever in my life. So I didn't really understand how to go about it. I did everything I could in rehab. I hammered rehab really well. I felt amazing coming out of Tommy John. Just, it wasn't transferring on the mound, and that's what I was fighting with the entire time. I was like, why am I not throwing hard again? Like, what's going on? Like, I'm not getting to this position or that position, and I became very robotic. So that was my biggest struggle coming out of Tommy John, and ultimately, like, it taught me to really understand my mechanics in the sense of like the long run. Like, it took me 3 to 4 years to really, really get back to who I was. And that was the biggest thing that I struggled with out of Tommy John. That really was.
So in some of my research, I saw a story from WTSP, Grace Remington, and it was about how your son at the time, newborn, and your tattoos helped you get through that dark time there, and you were considering retiring at one point. Like, what do you remember about that, and how did, I guess, your son, probably the more important aspect here, like, help you get through that?
The way my son helped, or the birth of my son, was, obviously when a kid comes into your life, it didn't hit me. I wouldn't say for everybody, but it didn't hit me right away that, hey, like, you need to understand that you're a dad at home now, and you're a baseball player on the field. Like, I was still taking the baseball aspect still home, and what helped me was my son, like, in the sense of having to, father him, having to love him, care for him, and stuff like that. It took my mind off of baseball because I was so, obviously in tune with trying to be dad with him. And so that separator started happening. That started growing in the sense of like, all right, when I'm at the baseball field, I'm a baseball player, but when I'm at home, I'm dad. And so it took me a little bit, to really, really separate those two. But eventually I got to a point where I could just leave what the baseball stuff at the field. When I got home, it's playtime with my son. And it helped a lot in the sense of not overthinking things, not overanalyzing things, not taking the bad part of my day to him. Because, at the time, he's such an infant that he doesn't understand. He doesn't know. And he still doesn't know. He just sees dad as a baseball player, like he's playing a game. He doesn't realize the struggle or the mental toll that it takes. But it's grown on me, and I've done such a great job as a father where I can separate those two. And so that way he doesn't see it. Because realistically, as a young infant growing, like they're a sponge. So I didn't want to give him any bad traits in the sense of like habits of like, blowing up, being quiet, being frustrated and stuff like that. Like, because they sense that, it's something that they're growing in their environment, and they wanted him to grow in an environment where it's very loving and caring, and that way he could, really understand like we are there for him instead of my mind being elsewhere. And it was hard. It was a hard thing to really, really learn, but I think I could say from like I've done such a great job with that, and I think that was a blessing in disguise in the sense of like him coming into my life at that time because I was really struggling mentally.
So after 2020, or near the end of it, the Rays designated you for assignment. You bounced around with a few different organizations. You ended up being designated for assignment 6 times before getting to the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. From a fan perspective, when a player gets designated, they just kind of disappear and they don't see like all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Yeah. So can you tell about that process and what goes through that and like what you remember about the first time?
It's just basically they're taking you off the roster, the major league roster, and then there's I believe 48, 72-hour period where any team can claim you off of waivers. So you're just kind of sitting around waiting. And whatever team claims you, like they'll fly you out, and then you got to figure out how to get the rest of your stuff over there. So it's such a process where it's like there's so many moving parts where it can get overwhelming. But in my case, I've gotten used to like how it is, unfortunately, and it's just the later times or I would say after the third time I've gotten to a point where I would prepare just in case it happened, and so that way it would make the transition easier. If nobody claims you, you go back to the minor leagues in the sense of and the reason why there's a DFA is because you have no more options available, where it's like when you get added to the roster, you get 3 options, right? 1 per year. And those are the guys that get optioned down, called up, optioned down, called up. I didn't have any more at the time, so the only way to get me off the roster was to get a DFA or a trade. And so if no one claims me, I get booted down to AAA, and then I got to start all over in the sense of trying to get back. And I take pride in that. I do. And, it's a relentless mindset. There's a lot of resilience in that. But, I love baseball and I want to play for as long as I can. And so, that's what I did. But the whole DFA process, it is a mental grind. It really is. And, for better or worse, it happens. It happens, and it's part of the game. And we get, I understand it, and it obviously, sucks when you see a teammate get DFA'd or you hear about people getting it's because you think about your own experiences, and then typically I'll think about like their families, what they're going through, like, do they got to pick up and move? Like, there's a whole big jungle of moving parts where it can be a very big mental toll on you, but it's part of the game.
You said you think about like the families of players. Did you have a strong support system at that time, like the first time and then the times after that you could?
Yeah, I've always had a good support system, and and they're the main key of why I got through a lot of it. So, but then again, you gotta understand that, and this is what I took from a lot of it, was it's part of the business and it happens. I just haven't hit my stride yet, and I knew that I could do it. I just needed to find some more people to help me grow as a baseball player.
So when you're bouncing around between organizations, I assume they all have like a different mindset of what they want you to do, how they want you to pitch, changes to your mechanics, pitch usage. Like, is that a challenge to deal with when each year you're having to learn new things from a new team, and then you might end up with a different team in a few months to a year kind of thing, like, especially when you're trying to find your footing still and establish yourself?
Yeah, and that was the biggest challenge for me, really. It almost felt like it was Tommy John every year, where I was trying to find myself, and granted, they're just trying to help. They're trying to get the best out of you, and they're trying to help any way possibly they can, and that's just what it is. It's not it's not like they don't have the best interest for you. Yes, they do, because if you do well, you make them look well. Like, you make them look good in the sense of like coaching, finding the right guy. Everybody wants to find that hidden gem, and so that's why they take chances on people, and they understand that this guy has good stuff. He just needs the right guidance, or he needs to fix this, or and so those are coaching moments, and those are growing moments where it's like, like I would take everything in and I would try to apply it with every team. And there's not one team where I was like, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing. I was very open-minded. I wanted to be coachable, and I wanted to do everything I could to obviously take off. And if it didn't work out, I could look myself in the mirror and say I did everything I could. So that's why I'm always so open-minded, and I'm always inviting coaching. I'm always wanting to learn more and more in the sense of like how to be better. What do I need to do better? What do I need to do to get through this or get through that? Like, and it's just a lot of that has to do with just being able to be open-minded and not being so stubborn or hard-headed about the fact that you can still learn, regardless of how good of a career, how bad of a career you've had, like, you can still learn. And that was my biggest thing, is I've always wanted just to learn, because like I think if I did that and it still didn't work out, I would be okay. Like, I could be able to sleep at night. If I didn't do that and I was so closed off from everybody trying to teach me things or trying to give me information, then I'm sitting there on my bed pointing the finger at somebody else other than myself. You know what I mean? So like, that was a big thing for me, where it was like, I need to take on this responsibility. I need to own it. And I've always wanted just to learn as much as I could. Like, give me everything that you need me to do, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do my best to do it.
And then finally, last year, you were traded to the Dodgers, and it's where things really picked up. You've said a lot that the Dodgers have just told you to be yourself, like that's the first thing they told you. What did that look like for you? Like, what specifically were they telling you to be free from, not change yourself too much like maybe some other teams might have been doing?
It had nothing to do with baseball. It was more personality, and I'd never been in a clubhouse where it's full of superstars and everybody's giving me the same message. Hey, just be yourself, man. Just be yourself. You know, because when you get into a new environment, typically you just kind of like sit there, you're quiet, you're trying to evaluate, trying to see where you fit in, trying to, you know, understand people's personalities, understand that, you know, you don't want to say the wrong thing to upset a veteran or somebody, you know. So it's always that wall of respect of just giving and just analyzing people and understanding what's the right time to really fit in and kind of let loose. But right away, Doc, you know, right when I met him, he was like, hey, our biggest thing is be yourself. Like, just be yourself. If you're a very serious dude, be yourself. Like, we want you to be yourself every single day. That way we know exactly what we're getting from you. And so that was kind of an eye-opener because I've never been told that. And so, as simple as it sounds, but, you know, I think that's what makes that clubhouse work, is because we accept everybody, anybody, as long as you're willing to work and bust your ass on the field. Like, that's really how that clubhouse environment really grew in my eyes of me being here, the time I've been here. So,
Before you got into that clubhouse and like realized that it's open and welcoming, was it intimidating when you heard you were going to have to go there? Like, you're joining the best team in baseball, filled with superstars, like you said, and you haven't proven yourself yet at the major league level. Like, I assume that's got to be a little nerve-wracking in some way.
yeah, it's very intimidating. Like, I mean, if I didn't say it wasn't, like, or if I didn't say it was, like, I'd be lying. But no, it was intimidating. Like, I remember sitting at the airport and I'm like, geez, I don't know what to expect, but I mean, screw it. Like, I gotta go. So, like, might as well just try to make the most of it. And like, my biggest thing that made me excited about the whole thing was understanding that the Dodgers developed left-handed pitching so well, and they're always the organization we always heard about in the sense of left-handed development. And so, as I said before, like, I was so eager to get there in that baseball sense because I wanted to learn. I wanted to be like, man, like, maybe they can teach me breaking ball. Maybe they can show me something that I, you know, is in like completely oblivious to. Like, I want to go and like learn as much as I can forever how long I'm going to be there for. Like, I just want to go and learn. Like, and so again, I was very open-minded going into it, but obviously it's very intimidating and very like, you know, nerve-wracking in the sense of like what you're going to expect versus what you're going to get when you get there. So I'm just glad that they have such a great culture and a very, very good environment, probably the best environment I've ever been in, to just let me just kind of fit in, you know. And it was fun, like meeting everybody. They've known me, heard about me, so it wasn't something where it was just like I was brand new. They kind of knew me from across the field, and so it was cool. It broke the ice very, very fast. So.
Then, of course, you get to end the season pitching in the World Series.
It was nuts. 11
organizations before you got to that point with the Dodgers. Like, what did that mean to you? How special was that?
It was everything I ever wanted, you know. It wasn't because, oh, people didn't believe me or this and that, because then if that was the case, they wouldn't have given me the opportunity. It was just to show everybody, or to, you know, anybody that cared to follow my story or anything else like that, to like, just because it didn't work out the first time, second time, 10th time, like, doesn't mean that you can't get there. Like, you know, if you really truly love the sport and truly love the art of the sport, and you got to be open-minded to be able to accept the coaching, to accept criticism, to accept the fact that you need to grow still, mentally and physically, whatever it may be. That was something that I was so proud of myself for. I was so close to giving up, but then it was like that little guy inside, just, let's just keep going, see what happens. And so that was something where I was like, man, like, I'm so proud of myself in the sense of that. Like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to think about. It's unbelievable to like really, really grasp. But here we are. Yeah.
And now you have one of your jerseys from the World Series in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean to you? How cool was that?
That was I was, when it told me about it, I was like, what? Me? Why? Like, I just couldn't fathom how incredible that was. It was like, I was so, like, it was such a, like, a blind spot to me where I was like, I had no idea why or who or what made that decision, but, like, I'm forever in the Hall of Fame. I'm forever part of baseball now. My family is. And it's something that I've never even thought I would ever achieve, and let alone be a World Series champion. But, like, on top of that, to have my jersey a part of that season put in the Hall of Fame, like, I was dumbfounded. It was, I'm still kind of like, what? But I'm super grateful for it. I'm speechless when it comes to that. Really, it really is. Like, I really am, and I don't know what to say, how much to say, how to show my gratitude towards it. I'm speechless about it.
And then the other day, you received your World Series rings.
Yeah.
When your name was announced, you probably had some of the loudest cheers from the fans up there with Shohei, Mookie, Freddie. Like, how special was that to you? What have the fans meant to you?
I don't know if you could tell, but I was fighting tears. I've never felt that. I've never, after everything I've been through, all the hard work of not giving up and just putting the work in, and to be acknowledged like that, it was a very special moment in my eyes and in my life, just because of the fact that what we did last year was so special. But yeah, walking up to that stage, I was fighting tears. I was trying not to make a fool of myself, I guess you could say. But you could ask Kopech, you could ask, who else were they showing? Some of the guys, I was just like, Stoney. It was just goosebumps the entire time. Like, I had goosebumps the entire time. I was like, before my name was called, after my name was called, I was like, this is unbelievable. Because, to have such a fan love for the sport, and then plus for the individual, it was like yeah, that's special. It's very special.
Have you looked back on, like, or had some time to reflect on how your life has changed, even from just the start of 2024 to now the start of 2025?
No. I understand that it's changed in the sense of accomplishments, but I'm the same person every day. I'm the same person. That amount of money is not going to change me. The amount of success isn't going to change me. I'm the same person. Like, that's just who I am. I'm always going to be that person. Like, I don't let all that get to my head, because I was raised, like, differently. Like, I guess you can say, my father will, I've always put that first, in the sense of making my parents proud and respecting them as my parents, and respecting our last name. And that's something that I will never change in my life. It's not going to ever change me, in the sense of how I think, how I go about my day. I know what it's like to have a bad day. I know what it's like to go through trauma. I know what it's like to, everybody does. So just because I, make this or do that, or doesn't make me a better person than the person next to me. Like, I've always said this. I've never looked down on anybody. I've always looked you in the eyes. I've always will treat you with respect. And I would never, ever think of a person that bad, or is a bad person, just because they're having a bad day. Everybody goes through things, right? And it's almost like, hey, like, instead of knocking that person, asking them, hey, are you okay? How are you doing? Like, stuff like that. Because mentally, people go through a lot of shit, Sorry. But it's more like I want to be mentally in tune with people, showing them that I'm respectful and loving, and I'm very open about that. And so I don't want people to think that I'm taking advantage or I'm being changed because of this or that. Like no. Like I was raised this way because that's how my father wanted me to be, my mother wanted me to be, and so it was something where it's like I will forever cherish that and forever respect that. So.
And then the last main thing I want to ask before a few like rapid fire questions. You have a lot of tattoos.
Yep.
I assume they have a lot of meaning behind them. I think in that story I mentioned earlier, you said some of them are just for fun and some of them have the meaning. So like, what's your favorite one, and when did you start getting them? Like, what's your journey with tattoos been?
I started getting them at 18. And for those people that are watching that don't know, that Arizona, if you ever been, almost everybody has tattoos. And so where I'm from, there was not a lot of people that will walk around with tattoos. The first time I ever saw a tattoo being done was on my brother, my oldest brother, and he was getting a tattoo, and I was like, "Man, does that hurt?" He's like, "No." I was being a tough guy. I was like, "Yeah, you're lying. Like you got a needle coming, like going in and out of your skin, like it's." But my first one was the cross I have on my arm, and then after that, it was like. So I forget who had told me this analogy, but it was a perfect analogy where it was like you have this big old white wall, right, and you put this picture frame right in the middle. And it looks odd. It's like, man, if I fill it up, it look better. That's kind of how it started, and so yeah, it got to a point where I started at 18, and then it just kind of continued going on until I'm still getting them. So, but my favorite one. Has to be the memorial of my brother, and I have a 555 the time my son was born. So those are my two favorites.
And then so now a little more rapid fire fun stuff. I think we covered a lot of your story there. Yesterday you told me you're a big nerd.
I am, yeah.
So your hobbies outside of baseball, like what occupies your free time?
A lot of video games. I like video games. I like card shopping. What else? Sometimes I just like walking around, getting coffee, trying, just wandering around. And then I do enjoy watching anime. And there's actually a card show going on right now that I might go to after this. So, yeah.
So, what video games you playing? What's your go-to?
So what got me into video games was there was a game. I've always played video games growing up, like the competition, the competing against my brothers, trying to win all the time. That was what really drew me in. And then, obviously playing the Game Boys, and, playing Pokémon, playing Dragon Ball Z, stuff like that. And then the new consoles come out, the Halo, and then what else? We got to a point where we were getting to like Call of Duty, and stuff like those types of games was what really drew me in. Fortnite really drew me in when it first started. Personally, I think they ruined that game, but man,
you've got a teammate in it now.
yeah, I do, which is super cool. I think that's so dope. But what really drew me in was there was a game that started probably in I think 2014. It's Destiny, and it's a combination of Halo and Call of Duty put together. There's a storyline, and I was absolutely loving it because you have to fight bosses, you have to get good gear, you have to and it was there's a lot of different things you could do, and it wasn't just so repetitive. And so me and my brothers and my best friend would always be on, and we would always be playing. We would always I remember playing for like a day and a half straight, like just killing it. And so I just stuck on it. I stuck on it, and then Fortnite came, got on that, so it was back and forth, back and forth. But yeah, like now it's Marvel Rivals. I play a lot of Marvel Rivals. I like that. And Destiny 2 sometimes, yeah. But like mostly Marvel Rivals is where I'm at right now. I've kind of gotten off the Call of Duty. I've kind of gotten off the Fortnite. So yeah, I really enjoy Marvel Rivals.
And then you mentioned Pokemon. You got to go to the Pokemon Center in Japan.
That was cool.
I assume you're still a big fan of Pokemon.
Yeah.
How like the cards, the games, everything.
Yeah, the games and the cards. Mostly because that's what we did as kids. Like we watched the show all the way through, and we would always watch it on Warner Brothers on Sunday morning, and we would do that, and we'd sit in front of the TV watching it, whatever. And then we'd go and just look at our cards and do trades, like amongst our brothers or the neighbors or whomever, and that's what we did, and it was fun. It was something that that was so interactive that it was almost like bargaining. Like, hey, I'll give you this card, you give me those two. Like, it was always something like that where it was so funny. And I just always stuck with it. I was so fascinated by the want of finding the card that you wanted, and so still to this day, I still have that fascination of opening a pack and hoping to pull that card or that I want in that set. And I'm like, oh, there it is, like, and so it's cool. And then I have the games on my phone now where it's not Pokemon Go or anything. It's the retro games of like,
the emulators.
Yes, the emulators of like Fire Red, Leaf Green, or Fire version, Yellow version, stuff like that. So I play it in my, we don't need Wi-Fi or anything. So when we're on the plane, I'll be playing it or something just to pass the time. So yeah, the cards and the trading the games are what I'm really into.
You have a favorite movie, a favorite song?
Yeah, my favorite movie would have to be. I have a few, but I like The Last Samurai. Yeah. My favorite song? I'm not sure.
Favorite genre?
I like everything. I like Spanish, country, rap, a little bit of like I would say punk rock, right? Is that a genre still? But yeah, like stuff like I'm trying to think of like a really song like I'm like in love with, but can't really think of one.
Changes a lot.
Yeah, it does, but there's not one. I can't think of like one song that stuck with me throughout the whole entire year, or through the years actually. Yeah, I really can't, and I'll probably think of it as we get this interview done.
Right. Best friend on the roster?
Well, it's hard because I have a lot of good friends. I feel I typically just think of everyone as my really good friend. The one I laugh the most with would be Chico. Bullpen catcher, Chico. Yeah.
Okay. And I've heard you have somewhat of a reputation as a bit of a prankster, jokester. The first time you interacted with me, I was walking over to Max Muncy for a post-game interview, and you pretended like I stepped on your foot, and then Kirsten Watson and Fabian Ardaya talked to me after about it. They told me you have that kind of reputation, and that's who you are.
Yeah, I like to have fun, man. It's so. The whole reason why I do those things is because when I see someone that's kind of like, I guess to themselves, or someone that's looking like they're having a bad something. I always try to find some way to make someone smile, or just break the ice to make them feel comfortable. You know, and I want them to understand, like, hey, like, we're all the same. Like, we're all the same. And there's no special, you know, just because we play baseball doesn't mean we're better than you. Like, no, like, we're all the same. So, like, I do those to break the ice, to make them feel comfortable, to, you know, and I hope you didn't take it the wrong way in the sense of like, oh, he's picking on me. No. Like, I want people to like come into the clubhouse and be like, you know, this is a fun environment to be a part of, and we're a bunch of good dudes in the sense of like, this is why it all works. And so, you know, like, the thing is like, what's made me that way was my younger brother was that way. He was always he was a great dude. Like, he never hurt a fly. It was amazing to watch him and to, you know, I've always wanted to be just like him. And so, like, but with everything, it was just more like, hey, like, I'm always trying to find a way to make someone smile. Because even if you're having a bad day, right? If I make you laugh and smile, not just me, anybody, you're going to leave that place with a good feeling. You're going to leave that place understanding that that is a fun place to be in, or that's a good person, or your day just got brighter just a little bit just because you laughed just a little bit. So those are that's like my everyday goal, really. And I don't make it known. I just do it because I know that, you know, life's hard enough, man. Like, it's hard, like, you know, and sometimes all you need is a laugh, you know. You never know how close people are to, you know, needing help, or, you know, so like, those are the things that like drive me to being who I am, you know, and it's the mental aspect of it. And I went through a whole lot of trauma in dark places, so like, I understand that, but I also understand that it's a lot more fun on the other side too. So, you know, so I try to make that like who I am, my personality, my identity, in the sense of like, this guy's a good dude because, you know, he makes me laugh, he welcomes me, and this and that. Like, it's, you know, we're all here together. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, I didn't take it the wrong way.
No, yeah,
good story to tell.
Yeah, it is funny. Yeah, like, but yeah, it was fun. You know, hey man, like like I said, like, I'm just trying to lighten the mood, enjoy it, like, make you feel comfortable, make you feel part of us. You know.
And then, so I wanted to ask, can you remember each team you've been with and the order?
Yeah, Milwaukee, Arizona, Tampa, San Francisco, the Mets, Pirates, Blue Jays, Mariners, New York Yankees, Washington,
Yeah.
Cleveland, here.
It's a long list.
Yeah, very long list.
So,
Met a lot of good people though.
yeah. So, to end it up, like, have you considered life after baseball, what you want to do in the long run? Because at some point everyone has to hang up the cleats.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the most scariest thought, I guess you could say, or intimidating thought. I wouldn't say scariest, but intimidating thought, just because I have no idea. I have no idea what doors are gonna open, what doors are gonna close. You know, like, you never know. So I mean, like, great that I'm so proud of my career. I'm happy with my career. I'm happy of all the ups and downs that I've been through, like, because it's made me a better person at the end. But I've also met a ton of great people. So I'm hoping to stay in baseball in the sense of, like, you know, maybe coaching, you know, at some type of level, or being an influence in baseball at some point, or some type. If not, you know, just another hill or another mountain to conquer. Just figure it out, man.
All right. Well, I appreciate you joining us. That was
Yeah.
everything I had. I hope you had a great time doing this. And
Yeah, absolutely, I did.
I know you're a very private person, so giving fans some insight into your life, I'm sure, can be very much appreciated from them. So
I'm just
thank you.
private in the sense of like social media, I guess you could say. But I mean, if you see me on the side of the street or you see me somewhere, come say hi. Say hi. You know, if you want to take a picture, take a picture. It's fine.
All right, fantastic stuff, Blake. Appreciate you doing that. Hope everybody enjoyed that interview. Blake Williams with Anthony Banda. Blake, you know, before we get out of here and let everybody kind of watch us back, watch their favorite parts, I love the fact that you humanized a very popular player who has built a fan club within, you know, Dodger Blue with Anthony Banda and kind of the life that, you know, his lore has taken with Dodger fans on the baseball side, Blake. What is something that stuck out to you the most? Because I have my own thing. When you really dive into the weeds, what was your favorite part about the baseball side of Anthony Banda?
Baseball side's tough because we really, like everyone was watching, dove into the more human side of it. I think just like how he almost gave up on playing and just kind of stuck with it, and how it all came together at the same moment, like 8 teams, 9 teams, whatever it was before, and then he finally caught on with the Dodgers. Like, that's special. You go from almost retiring, not ever finding your ground, everyone's trying to change you, to finally finding an organization that works and you find a home at. Like, you can't beat that kind of story. It's just really special for him, especially going on to win the World Series. Like, that's just so cool.
Yeah, and Banda is just, you know, another player on the long list that praised the Dodgers organization for really kind of making them feel like themselves and being the best version of themselves. And I think that's what we all got to see in this sit down that you guys had. I'm big on getting to know players for who they are off the field, understanding them, because yes, we're fans of a very lucrative season where you're playing 162 regular season and you have a chance to build a storyline. And Anthony Banda is someone that, if you didn't really look into it, you'd look at a journeyman reliever, but there's so much more to offer and so many things that he's got up there, and he's backing it up on the field. So, Blake, I appreciate you. I know Dodger fans of Dodger Blue appreciate you. Anthony Banda, same thing. Terrific job. Again, my friend, it's great to be on here with you. I won't ask you the final word like I always do. I just want to say, you know, awesome stuff, man. Congratulations. You worked hard on this one. And I know, you know, fans on here, Dodger Blue, can expect so many more. So many more. We'll see if we can get these times set up. These are busy players. So everybody do us a quick favor, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It's good to see you as always. My name is Scott Geirman. This is Blake Williams, the hardest working man I know. Appreciate you all. We'll see you soon. Take care.